Since early 2023, the Indian state of Manipur has been in the news due to multiple incidents of violence between two ethnic communities, the Meitei and the Kuki, which have been at loggerheads for more than a century. Predominantly a hilly state with a valley in the center, Manipur's current issues arise from this geographical division, as the Kukis as well as the Nagas inhabit the hilly regions, which account for around 90% of the total area of Manipur. The Meitei people, however, are confined to the valley, which is less than 10% of the total area, and they cannot get land in the hills, whereas everyone else is eligible to buy land in the valley. In this video, we will try to explore the entire background of the current issue by looking back in time. Before we begin, it's crucial to understand that this conflict is not new. It dates back decades, even centuries, and has deep roots in the socio-political fabric of Manipur. The Meitei and Kuki are two distinct communities, each with their own culture, language, and history. First, let's talk about the Meitei people, who have a rich and ancient history dating back to more than 2,000 years. Currently, they are the majority ethnic group in Manipur. According to ancient texts and oral legends, the Meitei descended from the Ningthoja clan, who were believed to be the children of the gods. There are two legends of how they came to inhabit the Imphal Valley. According to one, the entire valley flooded and all the people had to flee to the neighboring mountains. Once the flood subsided, some came back and eventually formed a kingdom. While according to another legend, a king sent his sons to rule over the hills and the valley according to their capabilities. One established a kingdom in the valley and the other in the neighboring hills. Thus, whatever may be the origin story, it is clear that a small kingdom was established in the valley some 2,000 years ago. And the hill people, who were eventually called the Tongkul Nagas, along with the valley people who ultimately came to be known as Meitei, share a common and intermixed history. In all probability, considering all the evidence, the origins of these people groups before these legends even occurred, are in the Tibetan plateaus. The timeline of which can be anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 years before today. The earliest known kingdom in Manipur that was established in the 1st century CE was known as the Kingdom of Konglepak, and it laid the foundation for the development of Manipuri society. It is during this time that we begin to see the rise of the Meitei as a distinct ethnic group. They established a system of governance, including a monarchy ruled by kings known as Meitei Laibak. What we know as Meitei today are in fact numerous people groups under a singular identity. Mongongs, after a series of inter-tribal conflicts, established their hegemony over the other valley tribes, which includes Ungong, Moyarong, Kabananba, Luwang, Chenglei and Kuman tribes. The subjugated people were absorbed into the Mongong clan, who later came to be known as Ningthoja, and all these clans together became the eventual Meitei. During this period, the Meitei experienced significant cultural and artistic growth. Various forms of classical dance, music, and literature flourished, contributing to the richness and diversity of Meitei culture. The relationship of Meitei kings with the hill tribes such as the Nagas was mostly good, as they had matrimonial and military alliances for the most part. In turn, Meitei may or may not have had direct control over these hill tribes. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that the Meitei and the other hill people fought in alliance against the Shan dynasties of the Burma. King Kagemba defeated the Chinese multiple times, and it was during these military campaigns that we see the first small migration of a new people in and around the lands controlled by Manipur at the time. These were the Kuki people, who were brought as war prisoners and were settled in those lands to serve the kingdom of Manipur and to act as a buffer against various tribes and smaller kingdoms. Around the year 1700, a huge wave of migration was headed by Lushai people into Mizoram from the Chin region, but they easily assimilated and formed a new identity called Mizo. These were same people as Kuki. Under King Pomheba, or Gopal Singh, or as he was famously known, Garib Nawaz, Manipur developed excellent relations with the northern Burmese kingdom of Ava through matrimony. Eventually Chin province came under direct Manipuri control, which further enabled various migrations of the Kuki-Zomi people into the kingdom. All of these migrant people had assimilated into the region in spite of upholding their individual tribal identities. Since the time of King Kagemba, Manipur had enjoyed dominance over the Burmese kingdom, which peaked under Garib Nawaz's reign. But his death started the turn of the tide in Burma's favor. Over the next 7 decades Burma defeated Manipur several times, which culminated in the 7-year Burmese rule in Manipur from 1819 to 1826. At that time Burmese power was at its peak, having defeated every kingdom in the vicinity of Manipur, including the mighty Ahoms. They were virtually at the borders of British India, and hence in order to check their advance, British waged war against Burma, in which Manipur also joined against their Burmese oppressors. After defeat in the war, Burmese rule ended in Manipur, which became a British protectorate state. This was probably not recognized by the new Manipuri ruler Gambhir Singh, but he was subservient to their power. Later, another major Kuki-Zomi migration into Manipur and Kutcher took place, when the British settled them in the hills surrounding the Imphal Valley in order for them to act as a buffer against the combative Nagas and further Burmese invasions. These new migrants were brought over from the Lushai Hills and the Chin region and were called as the New Kukis by the British and as Kongjai by the Meitei. Furthermore, they also drove out many other people groups including the Nagas. Eventually, Manipur became very important for the British economy by supplying tea and the newly discovered oil. With time, the Manipuri and British alliance became stronger and the British influence in Manipur grew deeper. To keep it and the rest of the northeastern India under their complete control, and to avoid any outside interference in it, the British implemented a policy in 1873 known as Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation, which stopped any movement of population into the region from the rest of India. And after gaining complete control of Manipur in 1891, they allowed the Christian missionaries to operate in the region, which played a key role in further dividing the various tribes along the religious lines by introducing a foreign religion. Also, the British gained exclusive rights in the timber industry used for shipbuilding. The aforementioned migration of the new Kukis had continued through the 19th century, and by 1891 they numbered more than 17,000 in the hill tracts of Manipur, led by the Thado tribe. The Manipuri kings had done their best to settle these people, but they rebelled against the Manipuri royalty in 1917, with objection to recruitment of 1,000 Kuki laborers to be sent to France during the First World War. It is said to be one of the key moments during which tensions between the communities increased. After India gained independence from the British rule, Manipur became a part of the Indian Union in 1949. Subsequently, it was made a union territory in 1956 and a fully fledged state in 1972 by the Northeastern Areas Reorganization Act, 1971. The British had granted the entirety of the Manipur some special rights, which ensured protected status to all tribes. Under this, the hills were administered separately from the valley and Manipur's king lost all say over them. But in accordance to Manipur Land Revenue and Land Reforms Act 1960, hills continued being protected while the valley became open to all. What it meant was that in the protected hilly regions no one could buy any land except the locals, but in the valley, everyone was eligible to buy land. The situation was further exacerbated when the Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006 granted special privileges to Kukis and Nagas at the expense of the Meitei. During that year, there was a sudden rise in violence between the two communities, who did not see eye to eye with each other. Since then, there has been sporadic but consistent cases of violence and rioting all over Manipur. And this brings us to today's Manipur, which is a very fragmented and tense region, with two distinct groups of people having completely opposite demands. The Meitei people have been demanding for special status as a scheduled tribe, which the Kukis have vociferously opposed. Kukis have been accused of poppy cultivation, and trying to change the demographics of the region by sheltering the refugees from the neighboring Myanmar, which they have denied. Also, they have been further accused of breaching the suspension of arms agreement, under which both the communities had laid down their weapons to stop the prevailing violence in the year 2008. In turn, the Kukis have accused the state administration of trying to take away their lands, and demanded a separate administration for themselves, which of course the Meiteis have opposed. This matter, unfortunately, will continue to be unresolved and be a cause of violence till all the concerned parties understand how things came to be, by accepting the historicity of the region.